What do you think happens behind closed doors with Montreal? We were just talking about the idea of Montreal magically getting by Pitt, and then they get dummied. Like, are executives in a boardroom saying, "Why the hell did we do that? We just lost our chance at the big boy in Montreal." Or do you even would NHL people even have those kind of convos?
Well, I don't know, man. Like, if you're are you talking from the league wide or from the team?
I'm just talking from the team, the Montreal Canadiens. Lafreniere's sitting there, and it's just like, you did the unbelievable. You took down Pitt, but then you get dummied and you lose your chance.
I think the guy that you wonder is the owner, right? Like the GM, I think, is going to say, "Hey, I put this team together. I want to win so I can prove I've been doing work."
But I think owner is probably dying to make Lafreniere jerseys.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Why wouldn't you be? He's from Quebec. It's a gold mine.
It's a slam dunk.
Well, I mean, you go through this and you do you want to win for sure, as we all know. But man, part of you would go if after 2 games of the next series, Noodles, the Ranger series that we played in, if they're down 6-0, 6-0, they probably would think this was a waste of time. And man, we could have probably used Lafreniere.
Yeah.
But you're trying to, they're trying to get through. It's such a goofy deal here anyway. I think of the things the league did they did so many things just great. They did an awesome job getting all of this stuff back together. The one thing they fumbled, and then once they fumbled, they kicked it down the field, was the draft. Because this is not the playoffs. No matter what they call it, we all know that the playoffs are 16 teams. And in the past, 15 teams that don't make the playoffs go into the lottery, and they have the graduated system. Why wouldn't they have waited and just done it after this first round? Do it Monday. Do the lottery like this coming Monday when they're going to do the second phase. Just do the whole thing. You've got 15 teams in it.
All right. And
it takes away what we're even talking about here. Because no matter where Lafreniere goes, well, that's not true. If he goes to about 4 or 5 spots, people are going to lose their mind and think that this is all rigged. If he goes to Pitt, if Pitt loses, if he goes to Toronto, if Toronto loses, if he goes to Montreal, if Montreal loses, people will go crazy.
Edmonton?
I think the Rangers are a primary spot, too. The biggest market in the States. They're up and coming.
I just think, 12.5% is a decent average, but you still have 87.5% that you're not getting that guy. That's, if I said to you, you got a 12.5% chance of winning this game tonight, if you're the Raptors, that's not a very good, it's not a very good percentage. It's a good percentage based on 1 in 8, but it's still low.
You're still rolling the dice.
But Detroit only had 18.5%.
I agree. They got jammed up. So did Ottawa. Ottawa had 2 picks.
Just think, Detroit had to suck for 7 months.
They were the worst team I've ever seen.
And, you never watched the Thrashers closely, honestly.
I played against them.
You didn't break a sweat either because you didn't have to.
That Detroit, I kept saying to people, Detroit's got good players, man. Don't say they're that bad. And I would watch them they're one of the worst teams I've ever seen, ever.
Well, it was a tank. It was even more of an obvious tank than Toronto's tank.
They tried to make it dignified, but they couldn't.
No, they were. But once it got so low, they just said, what's the point now? We're done. They're not good enough. It didn't matter. Yeah. Even if you had the greatest effort, greatest coach in the world, they didn't have enough talent. But I think
they should be in this lottery.
Yeah.
On Monday.
Yeah. No question.
It's like they took the whole thing was so complicated to get off the ground. They had this thing that they didn't need to make any changes to. It really didn't need to change at all. And they made a complicated solution that they got, the stinky glove with when Bill Daly had to flip over and say the first pick is a team to be determined.
I got to be honest, guys. I know I'm in the minority of this. I kind of love it. When I saw Bill Daly turn that over, I was like, oh my God, this is the worst case scenario. But it is great for us, us in the media. It's great, because I have no allegiance to any team. But could you imagine, like we've just been saying, if Toronto doesn't make it, Toronto, like this guy's playing with Austin Matthews. If Edmonton loses, this guy's playing with, McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, go down the list. Like, you're right. There are teams that did their best to in a rebuild, like Detroit, like Ottawa, that did it the right way. They're rebuilding in their system. They got messed out of this. But it's fantastic theater for me. I have to be honest, because I don't have an allegiance to any team.
Can you imagine him sitting there watching this? I might end up with Sidney Crosby, or I might be in Toronto, or this is astounding, actually.
Yeah, it is so goofy. It's so typically 2020.
But do you think it's goofy, Hayes, or do you think what they've done here is created an environment where it's good for the league, good chatter, good pub, or do you
I think it's a bit distracting. Like I said, we're distracted right now. We're wondering if a team up 2-1 should be happy that they're up 2-1, right?
Yeah.
And that's because of the circumstances. I don't think in their wildest dreams they really thought they were probably rolling the dice, which that's the irony. They're operating a lottery, yet they're gambling.
League?
Yeah, the league, because they were probably thinking, "Come on, Detroit, come on, Ottawa,
just win it."
Right.
Well, win the first pick, okay? If the third pick is up for grabs, that's kind of cool. That's kind of a little bit different. And hey, what are you going to do? You lose, but you still get the third pick. The first pick is the worst case scenario.
My wife doesn't know anything about hockey, and she watched it with me. She's like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen."
It was so goofy. I said at the time, I thought it was.
She's like, "Well, where the hell is he going?" I'm like, "I don't know," and I had to explain it to her or tried to, and she just walked away and said, "That's stupid."
Yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine? Sorry, Noodles. I just thought is. Can you imagine when the Cards, when they did the thing in the back room, because they got to prepare all the cards. And Daly's got to walk down that hallway carrying the cards, and the whole way down going, "This is such a disaster.
This is going to be awful.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to get carved by every loudmouth idiot in the whole continent." And that's precisely what's happened for the better part of, a month and a half. But hey, listen, this is the system they chose. This is what they're going with.
Yeah.
Watch, it'll be Nashville that wins anyway.
Or Winnipeg, if Winnipeg loses,
yeah.
like there are some really nice potential soft landing spots for him.
Do you think Ottawa would trade the third and the fifth pick for number one?
I would.
But whoever's got it, would they do that?
Well, it depends on what team you have. I mean, I would argue if I'm the Leafs, I'd think about it if I want it.
You're talking about trading Lafreniere for Byfield, and who's the kid?
And Jamie Drysdale.
And Drysdale and Byfield for Lafreniere.
If you're a team up against the cap, I'll take two cheap kids over one.
Yeah, I mean, you can be creative.
As Pat Quinn would say, that's a loser's race.
Well, yeah, it could be. In retrospect, I might hate myself for making that decision. But what if I hit on both? What if I hit on both? Even if Lafreniere turns into a great player, what if I have two great players? Then who won? That's a winner's race, Pat.
It's a loser's race.
I would put it this way: I would have a tough time leaving the two guys on the board. I would want the two players, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Now, if you're Montreal, you could offer me a hell of a lot more than that, and I'm not giving it to you. Maybe Ottawa, if they had got it too, because you're talking about a player that would appeal widely in their markets.
In Ottawa and Montreal, you mean?
In Ottawa and Montreal, yes.
Yep.
Right.
And maybe it doesn't. Maybe somebody else in a different market might be swayed, because I think Byfield's going to be really a great player. Mm-hmm. And if Drysdale looks at all like he looked at the World Juniors as an underage player, holy smoke, seriously.
Yeah. Not bad. A number one center and a number one D in one draft.
You can go a long way with that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It all comes back, though, guys, to the depth of your team. Like, say one of these big teams loses out just in this first round, and you're loaded at that position. Maybe you do look at two players, like Brian's saying, just because you've already got. Lafreniere's a left winger, correct?
He is a winger, yes.
Yeah, I think he can play both, but I think he'll play left wing.
He's not a centerman.
Yeah, Craig's been talking.
Sure.
Yeah, Craig talks about him being a number one left winger. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm just off the top of my head what team has a stud left winger that's young, and is in this potential situation, then you could go and maybe get two guys that could be changing within, go and get that centerman, go and get that defenseman. That would be, I guess, your mindset, depending on...
Well, and I think this would be the year of any year to trade a first-round pick, because if it is one of these, well, it's going to be one of these teams that are in, a lot of fans are just going to be confused. Like, how did you end up with the first pick overall? I saw you playing the other night. Like you could trade it before it even registers that kid's coming to town. Yeah. It's not going to be the same buildup. The draft is going to be in October. It's going to have a very different feel to it.
I think that's unfair for you to say the fans are going to be confused. We are going to be confused.
We're all going to be confused.
What is the draft? What's the draft all about? How is it going down?
It's going to be in October. It's going to be like October. Over the course of a couple of weeks, free agency, draft, trades.
So it's obviously a virtual draft. Like it's...
Yeah, it'll be like the NFL's. Yeah, and they'll figure that out, and it'll be fun, but we're miles away from that.